Happy Families Podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
It's those moments of connection that create the bonds and the memories and the experiences that kids will talk about for years.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Of all the episodes that we do, we get more positive feedback, in fact, more feedback generally, and it's always positive, about our Friday conversations. I'll do better tomorrow.
Well, it's our favourite as well, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So I'm Justin Coulson. I'm here with Kylie, my wife, and we do this podcast called Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families. And are you okay? You've got your wiggles on today. You're wiggling all over the place.
I'm trying to put my happy on.
One thing that I've discovered about being a parent, I think it's being a mum. I don't think the kids have ever done this to me, but I was watching just the other day. This is kind of indiscreet of me to say this, but you'd gone into the bathroom. Actually, you'd gone into the toilet. You need to have a moment. And our 7-year-old Emily comes into the room, Mum. And I said, Mum's in the loo. You'll have to talk to me. And she said, no, I need to see Mum. I said, well, she's in the toilet. You can't go in there. And she completely walked past me, ignored me. And you said something like, Emily, I'm in the toilet. She busts the door open, walks in and says, I don't care. I've got to give you a hug. She gives you a hug. The kids really love you. They'll go through anything to give you a hug.
Anything.
They went through me and went straight in there. How does that feel to know that you're that loved, that somebody will actually hug you while you're there?
You know what? Of all the places they could love me.
It's just disgusting.
It's really bad.
I'm sorry to bring that up, but this is real life parenting, right? Like you can't have a shower without. There's just no privacy, and I think it happens for mums much more than dads. The kids have never done that for me. They also know that when dad's in the shower, I mean, we've got girls, and we've just always had this thing about privacy, so the kids don't come into the shower when I'm in there, into the bathroom, but they don't care if you're in there. They just walk straight in there. Have a conversation with you.
We've got all the same bits, so it's not...
Yeah, but they have a conversation with you while you're there. I just don't understand it. Anyway, I'll Do Better Tomorrow is the Friday conversation that we have where we reflect on the week that was, talk about the good bits or the bad bits, and figure out how we can be more intentional or better at parenting as a result of either the successes or the failures that we've had this week just gone.
We've had some pretty epic failures lately. I'm hoping today's got a better feel.
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about. I don't know if mine is actually a win or a loss. I'm gonna put it down as a success.
Learning?
No. I'm going to say it was a success because the intention was right and nothing worked out quite right, but we still were glad that we did it anyway. So on Monday of this week, I've just been doing massive hours at work, and whenever I can, especially on a Monday, I try to get off work a little bit early. And I guess one of the great things about working for yourself is apparently you do have that flexibility. I say apparently because when you work for yourself, you're much harsher on yourself than any boss normally would be. But I reckon even if you do have a boss, you can probably try to get a little bit of flexibility into your life to make this happen. So on a Monday arvo, one of our kids finishes school a couple of hours early. That's just how her timetable is. And the other kids, they've got a school that finishes at 2:30. And so on a Monday arvo, I try to get at least an hour or two off work and spend some time with the kids. And this Monday, I was able to do that. My schedule's been overfilled, and I just thought, I'm going to be back in the office all Monday night anyway. I'm going to disappear for a few hours with the kids. Grabbed them, jumped in the car, went to the beach. And it just felt so good to drive down the highway, arrive at the beach, and then we got out of the car. And I kid you not, the wind was, it was like a hurricane. It was blowing at like 30 or 40 kilometres an hour. Like it was howling, and it was cold. And the kids got out of the car, and I was just finishing a phone call. And I said, I'll be there in just a sec. I was doing a radio interview for ABC Perth. They ran down to the beach. I said, I'll be there. Just go to the flags and I'll come swim with you. But I hadn't got out of the car and felt the cold or the wind. They were gone for about 90 seconds. They'd run down, they'd put their toes in the water, and then they ran back and they sat in the car for 10 minutes while I was doing this interview. When I finally got off the telephone from the interview, I said, what are you doing? What are you here for? And they're like, it is so cold. We are not going swimming. I got out. There was not a single person on the beach. It was so windy that the sand was whipping my legs as I ran down to the beach. The water was actually beautiful, but the air temperature was horrid. And I just said to the kids, we have driven for 45 minutes to get to the beach. We are not giving up now. And they've looked at me like I'm insane.
That reminds me of when we first moved over from New Zealand. I was 10 and we hired a car to drive from Sydney to Brisbane. And we'd never had a car with air conditioning before.
Wow.
And so we arrived in the summer and it was really, really hot. And my parents blasted that air conditioner the entire way from Sydney to Brisbane.
That's so good.
We were so cold in the back. And every time we said to them, can you turn the air conditioning off? They said no, because once we get there, we won't have a car with air conditioning.
We've got to get our money's worth.
That's right.
That's brilliant.
That's what you did to the kids.
Pretty
you
much.
made them get into the water when it was freezing cold.
I said, I've taken the afternoon off work to come to the beach to go for a swim. We've driven here for 45 minutes to get here. We've sat in the car while I've done this radio interview. We're swimming. And I ripped my shirt off and they were like, he's serious. I tagged one of them on the backside and said, Tip, you're it, and just ran for the water. The water was absolutely beautiful, but with this incredibly, like the wind was howling and the surf was just messy and gross and it wasn't nice to be in the water because it was just so choppy. Like it was awful. And after about 5 minutes in the water, I've said to the kids, are we done yet? And they're like, oh, we are so done. And then we sprinted back up the beach getting whipped by the sand and stood underneath the cold shower to try to get all the sand off us. I'm going to say that was a really big win.
We really miss being close to the beach. Those 10-minute drives to realise that the conditions weren't good is a big shift from what you're now having to do 45 minutes down the road. Because
we used to live in Wollongong. It was 10 minutes from Fig Tree to whatever beach we wanted to go to, Port Campbell, this jewel of the South Coast. And, really, really awful. So on the way home, we stopped at Yuck Donald's and I bought an ice cream with a flake for each of them. And I reckon, even though it was a dismal failure in terms of the quality of the experience we had with the activity, we talked and we sang songs, queued up a whole lot of stuff on Spotify, and they told me about their lives, and I'm calling that an absolute screaming win in spite of the horrendous conditions.
Well, I love that you made time for them, even when your schedule was so busy.
Yeah, and I reckon that if families can find a way to do that, it really does make a difference. It's those moments of connection that create the bonds and the memories and the experiences that kids will talk about for years. I reckon that one's going to be remembered by them. Let's find out about your I'll Do Better Tomorrow next.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Imagine a home where discipline got results without anyone having to feel bad or in trouble. The Do's and Don'ts of Discipline is a webinar to help parents set limits with love, compassion and humanity. Find it now at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we are talking about the things that we got right, I think, this week.
Oh, have you got a good story as well?
Oh, I think mine's a bit like yours. I'm going to chalk it up as a success.
So long as no walls or ceilings were damaged in this story, I'm feeling good about it. For those of you who missed, by the way, just go back in our podcast feed to last week's I'll Do Better Tomorrow and find out why Mother's Day was horrendous and why we no longer have walls and ceilings in our TV room. So what was yours?
So for a little while now, Miss Seven just hates having a bath. We've gone from can't get her out of the bath, she would just like literally live in the bath if she could, to now refusing to get in the bath. And so the other night as I was talking her through it and just explaining that, her hair gets really knotty after she's been in swimming lessons and we just need to give it a quick wash. She doesn't have to stay in there forever. Just give herself a quick wash. She was like, oh, all of a sudden it kind of clicked. She thought she had to, I don't know what she thought she had to do, but I just said, just get yourself washed. You don't have to stay in there. And she was like, okay. So she finally did it after she'd had a pretty big meltdown. I tried to just stay calm and talk her through it. And once she was done, she was still just a little bit out of sorts. And so I just said to the big girls, all right, we're just going to call it quits tonight. I'm going to go and spend some time with Emily in her room. And so I tried to do what we would normally do. She's got her little readers from school and she'd read, but she just wasn't settling well in that space. And I just happened to look over and on her shelf, she had put all of her big puzzles, like her 100, 150, 200, 250 piece puzzles all in her shelf. And I was like, Emily, would you like to do a puzzle? I kind of broke the rules. It was really time for reading, but I just thought, I need something to kind of to reconnect with her. And she said, okay. And so we sat down and she decided to pick the biggest puzzle and the hardest one of the whole lot to do.
Of course, it's bedtime.
But we got about 3/4 of the way through it and she said, Mum, we don't have to finish it now. I think I'm ready for bed. And she just jumped into bed, and we had a little snuggle and a cuddle, and lights were out, and she just went to sleep so beautifully. And we probably we were a little bit over time. She didn't go to bed exactly when she was supposed to, but she didn't go to bed screaming and wailing either. I was really grateful for that time to reconnect and just regroup before bed so that she could go to sleep peacefully.
Great story. Love I'll Do Better Tomorrow. Love just connecting with the reality of being a parent. I came across, I was having a conversation with somebody just the other day, and I can't remember if it was me or them, but somehow we came up with this idea that the product of parenting is the parent, not the child. And these intentional moments, these opportunities for us to reflect and try to do better tomorrow based on either what we're winning with or what we're losing and failing with, it helps us to become better parents. And that's the real outcome of great parenting, is we become much better people. We love hearing your little wins as well. Every Wednesday on Facebook, we have this thing called Little Wins Wednesday. And this week, our Little Wins Wednesday winner, do you like that?
That's a mouthful.
Our Little Wins Wednesday winner was Tara Bainan, who said after a rough month with child health assessments, trouble at daycare with yelling, hitting and kicking the other children and teachers, and overall quite big feelings towards everything, we're now on to the third day straight of quite calm, happy, and more manageable days. Found the biggest change was in myself. Not letting my emotions parent and just stepping back and thinking before reacting. It's been an awesome couple of days so far with Mr. 3. Let's hope it continues. Well, Tara, because you jumped onto Facebook and told us about your little wins with your little ones on Little Wins Wednesday, you are our winner this week of one of the Dr. Justin Coulson Justinism's 12-pack A5 size posters. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
That's another mouthful.
We're sending you some stuff for free. And every Wednesday on Facebook, we give you the chance to tell us about your little wins with your little ones so that we can send you free stuff on our Friday I'll Do Better Tomorrow podcast. Hey, one more quick thing as well. This week has been an absolutely massive week, and I want to run you through it just to highlight the work that I do in case, as a podcast listener, you're not aware of the other stuff that I do outside of the podcast. On Monday night, our Happy Families members and a bunch of other people who just bought in for the night were able to participate in a webinar about anxiety in your child. That's now for sale in the Happy Families store. On Tuesday, I worked at Leward Hill College. It's a girls' school in an inner city suburb of Brisbane, where I worked with students, with staff, and with parents, talking about raising teenage girls and dealing with all the dramas and challenges that teenage girls can experience in their lives and how we can help them through it. On Wednesday, I worked with King's Christian College on the Gold Coast, working with students about respectful relationships. I worked with students from grades 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and had some incredibly meaningful and powerful conversations. On Thursday, yesterday, I was in Penrith at Penrith Anglican College, helping parents, students, and staff. It's been a really big week with loads of presentations. And if you have your kids at a school, or if you're a school teacher and would love to get access to the work that I do, I would love to be able to visit with you and share these presentations. So you can jump online, just visit my website and click on the speaking tab at happyfamilies.com.au, and one of my staff will be in touch to talk to you about how that happens. If you're not able to make that work, you might like to try the Happy Families membership. It could make so much difference in helping you to make your family happier. Again, all the details are at happyfamilies.com.au. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon. He's at Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is the brains behind the podcast, our executive producer, who helps us to sound the way that we do. We appreciate the work that they both do. And we are so grateful for you listening to our podcast. Thank you for being a Happy Families podcast subscriber. We encourage you to tell your friends about it. Leave those 5-star ratings and reviews so that we can reach more people and help make more families happier. For more info, visit happyfamilies.com.au.